Hi folks, Martin Hood here again. Going to have a quick discussion about constitutionality. Much has been said recently in pro-firearm circles about Business Unity South Africa, NEDLAC, consulting with the Secretary of Police about proposed amendments to the Firearms Control Act. And quite a fuss has been made. However, we need to bear in mind that it's anyone's right to consult with anyone in government about proposed legislative changes and to come up with whatever they want. However, we have that right too. And I just want to give you a couple of pointers to pass on to your politicians, your friendly policemen, and even the Secretary of Police. Let's start with Section 195 of the Constitution, because our Constitution is the start and end of everything that we do. Section 195 has a heading, Basic Values and Principles Governing Public Administration. And one of the sub-points is people's needs must be responded to and the public must be encouraged to participate in policy making. That's us, you and I. We should be there. We can be there. We must be there. The Secretary of Police has its own piece of legislation which made it an organ of state. No, I mean just an organ of state, nothing else. And I want to read from the preamble about the purpose of the Secretary of Police. It says, whereas there is a need to promote democratic accountability, transparency and openness within the police service and to ensure cooperation between the police services and the communities it serves. We are that community, people. And then it goes on to say more that is quite interesting and that directly affects us. The Secretary of Police is to liaise and consult, communicate with stakeholders. Remember that, Mr. Organ of State, Mr. Secretary. Liaise, communicate and consult with stakeholders. I want to tell you why this process that took place behind closed doors in a smoke-filled rooms with Johnnie Walker Blue whiskey isn't going to work. We had consultations with the Secretary of Police about amendments, and then they drafted the Firearms Control Act Amendment Bill in 2021, which was completely the opposite to what we discussed, in bad faith, I might add, in bad faith. Advocate Dawn Bell, remember that name, in bad faith, Advocate Dawn Bell. The Dealers Association and CHASA, Confederation of African Hunting Associations, had to go to court and get a court order against the Minister of Police, extending the consultation period because they wouldn't give us information. And that resulted in the provision of information that completely disproved the rationale for the Firearms Control Act Amendment Bill. We'll do it again if we have to. And let that be a warning to government. We will do it again. But there's more, people, because you can't pass legislation unless you have the means to implement legislation. Otherwise, it's pointless. In 2019, the Dealers Association obtained a court order about the phased implementation of digitization of the Central Firearms Registry. In 2019, the police had 4 years to complete the process. They haven't done it. No surprises there. They simply haven't done it. But I want to read to you one of the court orders. All parties agree that a report shall be made in terms of this court order to a judge nominated by the Deputy Judge President every 6 months from the date of this order. For the 6th consecutive 6-month period, the state, the National Commissioner, has failed to provide that report on progress. So here's my point, everybody. If you can't even write up a document to say what you haven't done, how are you going to implement any amendments to the Firearms Control Act? Be safe, be careful out there.